Rev up your engines! Dodge Hornet is coming out. It's a plug-in hybrid, right? And now they're saying, what's going to be more expensive than we thought it was originally, says Stellantis. This has nothing to do with the old Hornets, the muscle cars, right? These are just rebadged Alfa Romeos. They're made in Italy. They're not even made in the United States, not even put together in the United States. It's an Italian car, and you're getting an Alfa Romeo. Don't think you're getting some kind of American product. All they took was the name. These are Alfa Romeos, a company known for low quality. The company was always on the verge of bankruptcy, but now Stellantis owns them, and they're trying to revive, I guess just because they're Italian and French, they want to revive the Alfa Romeo, but they don't want to use the name Alfa Romeo in the United States because everybody knows they got a bad name, right? So they're going to call them Dodge Hornets. What a joke that is. So be leery of names. They don't mean anything these days. And there's no way I'm going to be buying an Italian car. Especially a plug-in hybrid car. Italian cars are known for one thing, electrical failures. And if you're going to get a hybrid car with all that hybrid technology made in Italy, good luck on that one, people. Well, it looks like Chrysler is doomed. Since the merger with Stellantis, they are now saying after 2023, they're going to get rid of the Chrysler 300, which is the only car they have left that they make. And that will leave the Pacifica minivan as the only Chrysler vehicle. Stellantis took over. It's a European company, right? Peugeot and Fiat, right? They don't care. And they just name them anyways. The names don't even make sense. Like they're saying, we're making the Hornet, Dodge Hornet RT. That's just a rebadged Alfa Romeo made in Italy, right? It's just names today anyways. They really don't mean anything, especially with a company like Stellantis. They got all these European failed companies like Alfa Romeo, and they still want to push that crap on people. It looks like they'll probably get rid of the Chrysler, or if you ask me, they'll probably just name all their cars Chrysler names and say, well, we still sell the Chrysler, blah, blah. They're still made in the same place. And these are Italian, just like Jeep Renegade, a Jeep, right? It's a rebadged four-wheel drive Fiat, but they sell them over here as Jeeps, and people get suckered in. They buy them, they don't know, and then they fall apart, and they're like, gee, I didn't know that was made in Italy. I mean, just listen to the companies that have merged with Stellantis. You want to talk about companies that have made crappy cars that have been failing for decades? Fiat, Abarth, Alfa Romeo, Lancia, and Maserati. Almost all those companies are always on the verge of bankruptcy. Now they're all molded together into Stellantis, and I guess they got some kind of an Italian thing that, they want to keep the name brand going, right? Keep it going, even though they're crappy cars. They never could compete against the Japanese, that's for sure, for quality and long life. It looks like the name Chrysler may or may not disappear, but their only model left after 2023 is going to be the Pacifica minivan. Well, here's some inside information about Ford. Guy wrote me an email, worked as a porter, delivering the Ford trucks around. I was a porter. Co-workers would speed around with them like they were Raptors, and then they break down when the customers receive them. You want some of the inside story? Here it is. You pay peanuts, that's generally what happens. They don't pay the porters all that much money. And especially if the young guys, they're going to drive like maniacs. Now, I've seen the same thing at Ford dealerships. Somebody took their truck in to get it worked on. They come back and their speakers are blown. One guy, he found McDonald's French fries under the seat. They obviously had gone to McDonald's and ate it and were blaring it out and blew the speakers out in it. You want to be kind of careful who's driving your car. In this case, though, it's the people that are driving them to be delivered, and they're driving like maniacs. And of course, at the dealerships, the same thing happened. I mean, I had a guy that went to one once and he got his car back and had like 350 miles more. He wrote it all down. And he had 350 more miles than when he took it in. They obviously drove the thing all over the place, right? I don't even like valet parkers driving my cars because I've had them run into things. I had one in Austin at a hotel there, fancy hotel, Four Seasons, run into the wall with the Lexus. I had to go through hoops to get them to do the fixing. Oh, it's not. Oh, you did it. We didn't. I said, look, I didn't drive the car. Your guys did. You wouldn't let me park it. I would have parked it myself, right? So be careful what car you buy because the porters that delivered it might have ragged the heck out of it too. Interesting. Thanks a lot there, Sailor. I like getting information from the inside. Sobman says, jump starting from car to car. Following you for years, but I have the short video from another expert that he says, do you disagree with how he jump starts cars? All right, I looked at the video. I certainly do. You never really want to jumpstart two cars that are running. It can destroy the computers, burn out the alternators. That's why I like those lithium battery packs. You can just hook them up to the other car. Doesn't touch anybody else's car, just the battery pack that's safe. Even if you're dumb enough and you put it on backwards, a red light will go on, it'll beep, and the good ones won't allow you to turn them on to destroy your car. So that's why I tell people get those lithium jump packs. But let's say you are absolutely stuck and you need a jump start. Here's the only way you want to do it. First thing you would do would be your car doesn't run. The other car comes. Hook up the batteries, and you're supposed to put positive, and then negative on the terminal of the donor car, and then the negative on the ground in your car so there's no spark to cause a problem. All right, then let the other car run for 5 or 10 minutes. That will help charge up your battery. Then you shut the car off that's running. Then you try to start your car. Then the only thing that's coming from the other car is the battery voltage. The other alternator isn't running. That's the only way you jump start a car with jump cables. But really, it's so much safer just use one of those jumper boxes. They can't go wrong. You hook them up wrong, they won't work. They're only doing a battery to your car. There's no other electrical problems. Let's say the other car has an electrical problem. And when you hook it up to yours, it could short your car out. You're always better off with one of those jump start boxes and you're jumping off another car. But if you have to jump off another car, do exactly what I said. Let it run for a while, charge it up, then shut the other car off that's running, then try to start yours. Kellogg says, got a question about Ford's adaptive transmission. I got a 2016 Ford Edge non-EcoBoost. It shifts hard, and it only has 47,000 miles on it. I'm in Thunder Bay, Ontario. Hey, my wife's sister-in-law's from Thunder Bay, Ontario. Now, Ford's manual says, oh, that's normal. It has to learn your driving habits. But it's got 47,000 kilometers on it. Shouldn't have it figured it out by now? And they say it's normal. It clunks when it shifts. Okay, yeah, there is a problem. That's not normal. They always try to BS their ways out of it. The adaptive stuff is so that it adapts to your driving style. So if you take off fast, really fast, and want to have more acceleration, it'll shift a little later. But if you drive slower and you want better gas mileage, it'll shift a little bit earlier to get better gas mileage. But clunk loudly, no. And delayed shifts, you're saying sometimes it'll have several seconds before it'll accelerate when you step on the gas. You got a problem. That's BS. And they always try to talk to the adaptive transmission isn't adapted yet. Yeah, after all that mileage, it certainly have. And they're just giving you a line of bunk. And that's what those guys always say. Because you have something that doesn't work right, and they don't want to have to fix anything under any type of warranty. They're going to tell you, oh, that's normal. Don't worry about it. Like GM with it. Oh, that burns oil. Oh, that's normal. They all burn oil. Maybe they do, but it's because they're made poorly. And in that case, there's a problem in that transmission. If it's clunking and doing stuff like that, it isn't adapting to her driving style. David Robinson said, Scotty, what happened to the app you were going to release? Well, it's never going to be released. I got involved with software stuff. It just got to be too much. The money that it cost to really get one going, and what is it going to do for people? You know, I had all kinds of companies say, oh, Scotty, you know, we'll advertise on your app and this. I don't do paid advertising, and I don't want to get involved in that stuff where you got to lie to get money from people to keep something going. This is why I'm here answering people's questions out of my own dime. I'm paying for all this stuff, and I like helping people out. But if I had an app, I would have to put so much money into it that I would have to do something sleazy like put paid advertising on, which you can't control. You know, some people say, oh, Scotty, we'd love your app, and we'll get involved and we'll sell used car on your app. Well, I can't do that. I couldn't stand behind what somebody's selling a used car. They're on my app and you're buying a used car through it. I wouldn't have any idea if it's good cars or not. So the app has disappeared into the atmosphere. Whatever I threw in it is gone, but you don't throw good money after bad, right? Mr. Zundra says, Scotty, what's your favorite sitcom? Okay? An old one. Most people wouldn't even know. Fawlty Towers. The old Monty Python, John Cleese, right? That was my favorite still sitcom, because it is a sitcom. He based it on a hotel owner he had met when they were filming one of their films for Monty Python, where the owner hated people, but he's running a hotel, right? But he hates his own clientele. So it's a hilarious show. I like Fawlty Towers. You can watch it anywhere. It's all over the place. Internet, YouTube, you name it. You can see it everywhere. And if you like British humor, it's dry, but he's also slapstick. That's my favorite one. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.